Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We're glad to have you with us.
Oh, that's me.
That's your cue, Dave.
Welcome to the Will and Dave Show.
So, welcome to the Will and Dave Show. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Quick little heads up. While this is still part of our kind of pre-Christmas or pre-New Year's series of light and breezy episodes, we're going to be doing a bit of a review of the year, which will touch on a couple of hairier issues, but nothing too crazy. Just be aware of that while you're listening.
Hey, Will.
Hey, Dave.
How's it going?
Not that you weren't here before, but,
Well, thank you.
now we can see your lovely mug.
I don't know what's wrong, but your audio is really laggy. That is weird.
Do you want me to leave and rejoin and try and tighten that up?
Well, if you give me a second, I am just going to log on to the stream and see if it's lagging there. But
Alrighty.
I'm looking for the... yeah, you know what I mean, for the control.
Yeah, I'm listening to what you mean, not what you say.
That's correct. That's what it is. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It says we have extra connection, so why don't you log out and back in?
Okay, will do.
I'll go to my scene. Hey guys, welcome to the show. We'll be back in a second because, he's half of the Will and Dave show. So I'm just going to go back to him because he just logged right back in. Hey, Will.
Testing. How are we
Hey.
sounding now?
Much better.
Much better. Perfect.
It's
All right.
It's always way better when you don't look like an ancient kung fu movie.
Yes.
Yes. I could just see you and Bruce Lee just going at it.
Oh my God.
I think you'd lose.
I think you're right. Unless I sit on him.
So I've been thinking about the year in review,
Mhm.
and I've been thinking about a few of the things that are on our list to talk about. And before we get into that, I have some things that have made me think, and I want to ask you these few things. Remember the old episodes of our show where you would have the things? What does
Things-
Dave know?
Yeah, what does Dave know?
Yeah.
Does he know things? Let's find out.
Yeah, well, I have a few for you.
Okay. Lay it on.
Actually, I have a couple. I don't have a whole lot, but I have one for sure. I'm going to start with one and see how it goes.
Alrighty.
Why is it that the more material in a bra, the less expensive it is? Have you ever noticed if your wife shops at Victoria's Secret, where there's like about 3 square inches for a bra, it's $99 per cup, and you go to Walmart on the over-shoulder boulder holder aisle, and you can get 3 bras for $2.99.
Good old gourd slings.
So explain to
question.
me why the less material, the more money.
Branding, most likely.
Is the R&D more expensive?
A little more Q&A work goes into Victoria's Secret, maybe.
I just was really working on thinking why is it that the more expensive the bra, the less material? And actually the same can be said for all underwear.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a conundrum that applies to most underwear, I think. There's no reason that thongs should cost as much as a good pair of boxers, but here you are.
Well, there actually is. There's a reason why a Speedo and a thong is more expensive. Because if you're going to wear those, you really got to want to wear them.
You got to be good quality. If
It's
they're going
worth
that-
the extra money.
that
That's
close,
right.
The old,
right.
exit
Yeah.
hole.
It reminds me, and this is a true story, folks. I'm not making this up. We were walking into a Walmart. I can't remember where. And my wife and I are walking into the store, and there's a lady in front of us who it appeared she wasn't wearing a top. And we're like, that can't be. That's not real. It can't be. And so we edged up beside her. Once we got in the store, we were walking fast we can get in front so we could see what the show was. And it was a halter top, but the halter was hidden in the crevice of No Man's Butte, as it were. You couldn't see the halter in the back.
Oh,
It's one of those that if I had had a camera, it would have made it onto the People of Walmart site.
see, I know this makes me an awful person. I do genuinely recognize that this makes me an awful person to think this way. But when I'm feeling really down about myself, like feeling like I just don't look good or feeling really self-conscious,
Right.
I go to Walmart. Because I guarantee you there is a slew of people
Yep.
that are way rougher around the edges than I am right now. So it's a weird little self-help thing. I know it's cruel and I know it's bass backwards, but confession.
Confession time. That's right. I like it. So that was my one question. It wasn't a serious one, but I was thinking today, I'm going through the show and thinking about the last one of the year. I've got to ask you something that you might not have an answer for. So there you
I
have
don't
it.
have an answer for it. I got nothing.
William, we have sponsors.
Ooh.
The first one, as always, is Stitched by Susan. And I don't have a photo of it here, except as I married a quilter, I often will get quilts for special events. And for the last few weeks, I've had one hanging on the wall it was a gift for my 50th birthday. And now I have one that's all musical instruments and piano and notes and notation. And it is the most amazing thing ever. And it came from Stitched by Susan, who is an all-time show sponsor here at the Will and Dave Show. And William, you have one. Oh, he's adjusting his camera. So we're just going to go back. And he's muting himself because he's fixing his camera.
Yes.
Hey, Will, you're live now.
Yes, thank you for that. That'll make it in. That'll get edited out. So our other sponsor today is Kelly and Dottie Hardy, also a previous sponsor of the show. We're very grateful for their support, supplying me with this lovely microphone, and with their moral support as they consistently listen to us and feed our egos, which is really nice and greatly appreciated. But here we have a new sponsor tonight.
We do have a new one. And before I bring them up on the show or on the screen, I want to give a little bit of history in this next one. They are old-time family friends who, I don't know if you remember the cattle that they gave us.
I do.
So I'm going to let you, as I put their logo on the screen, you get to tell that story.
Of the two
Yes.
calves we got?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it was very short-lived. One year they had a couple of runts that they were worried weren't going to make it, and they were going to have them made into veal. But my two youngest siblings were very adamant that they could raise them. They wanted to get into 4-H. They wanted to try and raise these calves, and so we took them in. We had a little area that we made into a paddock for them. I'm sure paddocks are for horses, but I'm not a rancher. And we tried to raise them. That didn't last.
Do you remember their names?
I don't remember their names.
That's the story.
Oh, well.
Tony and Roma.
Oh,
We named them after Tony Roma.
Oh,
After Tony
right.
Roma's ribs, because we knew they were going to end up on the table.
In case you didn't know what the end goal was. Spoilers. They didn't make it to being full-fledged beef. They did end up veal regardless.
Yes.
They were nuisances. I don't even remember the exact instances, but I remember them being a constant thorn in our side.
So Rafter G Land and Cattle is Howard and Karen Gertz and Regan Gertz and his wife Regan and
Don't mess us up.
Regan and his wife.
Regan and his wife. There you go. Let him say.
And they called us up the other day. They said, "Hey, Dave, what's your email address?" And I sort of knew what was happening. So I said, "Our email address is howard@rafterg.ca." And they said, "No, what's your email address?" And I said, pretty sure it's howard@rafterg.ca. And they said, no. And so I gave them the email address, and they sent us a check.
Well, how
So
nice of them.
we just like to say thank you to Howard and Karen for supporting the show.
Well, thank you, Howard and Garen, for
Yeah.
supporting the show.
So, Will,
Yes,
this is the last show of 2020, man.
it is. What a year it's been. I think I remember I was looking on online with Mom the other day. We were looking at quilts for her quilting business on Reddit and comparing her quilts to some of like the top ones on Reddit.
Yep.
And one of the top quilts, like the most upvoted designs on the website, was a quilt of a dumpster that was on fire, labeled 2020. And I feel like that really just sums up the year very nicely.
It does. It does.
It was a dumpster fire of a year.
Yeah. So we were going through and listing all the topics for things to talk about. And we looked at each other over the camera, of course, and said, we have to come up with some positive ones. They aren't all negative in 2020. There has to be some positive
There's got to be a
things.
silver lining somewhere.
And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I mentioned the death of Kenny Rogers, and Will says, well, that's a good thing. He was a good guy. I'm like, yeah, but he died.
Which I didn't realize, so I'm sad all fresh and new over that one.
Yeah. I mean, there just was so few happy moments in 2020. Here's a good one, Will.
Okay.
93% of the world know how to use Zoom.
That's nice. I mean, on a related note, Zoom, bless their hearts, made their services free all of Christmas Day, and I believe they're doing it again New Year's Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you have unlimited call times and
Right.
people in the call, I believe.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Which that's nice of them.
Yeah.
I mean, their stock prices have been soaring all year long, so it's nice to see them giving back a little bit. But I'm not going to let that take away from the good act that they've done.
That's right. So we're going to go down the list, and we're just going to talk about them really briefly. And we're not going to get into our hard opinions about them, because it would get depressing in a hurry.
Right. It's more of a recap, and
Yeah.
we'll try and find some silver linings as we go.
So the big one for this year, of course, is COVID. Well, it and the election are tied for once. We'll start with COVID at the election. If you remember back in February, March, there were rumors of a virus which began in China, apparently, and very rapidly it moved all over the globe, and it landed us where we are today with more lockdowns, etc.
Lockdown Part 2, COVID Boogaloo.
Yes, and apparently there's a new strain in Europe or Britain now.
It's news to me, but how fun.
Oh man, you should read the news more often. You could be as depressed as I am.
Do you remember? This is going off a little bit of a tangent. Do you remember that Stephen King, or not Stephen King, but the post-apocalyptic anthology you got me, and the first story in it was a Stephen King short story?
No.
It was about the end of the world because a guy developed an Alzheimer's developed a medication for violence,
Yes,
and
I do.
and it ended up giving everyone Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Somehow this feels a little bit like this is somewhat like that, where it's just circling the drain right now. I know this isn't literal. This is more just like a
Yes.
itching in the back of my head that we're all just, coronavirus is just the beginning, and we're just circling the drain now. By the time we cure this strain, it's going to be another strain, and so on and so forth.
Oh, if
Might
that
just go to Mars now.
if that happens, I'm going to be grumpy because I want to see my granddaughter and she's in another country.
Yeah,
I'll be grumpy. So on the nicer side of COVID, it inspired a new version of Stephen King's The Stand. So if you liked the original one, you might enjoy this one. It's got some decent actors and actresses in it, so might be worth a look.
I'm sure board game sales are up through the roof.
I bet they are.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent of board game.
The election, which I would so love to say is over and decided and done, but apparently apparently there are people who are still saying, nope, not over and done with yet. But
Cheers to them.
so I want to interject here. If you guys are watching and you want to ask a question or make a comment, write it in the chat. I'll slap it on the screen. We'd love to laugh at you if you spell it wrong. So,
Or we will listen to it very diligently and create a very thoughtful and well thought out response to it.
yeah,
It's
what he
flip of a
said.
coin.
Yeah,
One of the two.
yeah.
Not both, though. Not both. No,
No,
never.
never. So we had the election in November,
Mhm.
and
God, that was a long time ago.
I have a neighbor yesterday who hung a Trump banner up on his banister of his house. I can't make this stuff up, man. It's
For
true.
those of you listening to this as a podcast in the future, you can't see the pain on my face. It's there. Oh, it's so there.
You know, I
I-
get the people who say there's a chance, and there probably is. It just fascinates me that there's no graceful folding up the shop and going home and then trying again in 4 years. There just isn't. And you know, and some of them have good reason to not. I get it. I get the angst over losing, because there is going to be a loser, you
Yeah.
know, and nobody wants it to be them. So I guess
Yeah.
I see that. It doesn't.
I mean, if I can find a silver lining, it's kind of an ugly silver lining. But the silver lining in this is that I think that next election, it's going to be I don't want to say a tighter run ship, because that implies that the ship wasn't run very tightly this year. But relative to the 2016 election, which had a lot of like very it was tampered with a lot. I wouldn't invalidate it, but it was tampered with a lot by outside forces. I think this year, in relation, it was a much smoother election in that respect.
I would think so.
I mean, internally, they're tearing themselves apart. But in terms of external influences, I think this election was much better. And I think the next one will be better still, because people running the election are going to be under a lot more scrutiny. So while it's not nice for them, it'll be a lot of stress,
Yeah.
I think it'll lead to a more trustworthy election.
Well, all I know is that it's not over, and this is the only one of these which I believe is going to extend into 2021. Unfortunately, it's not going to be resolved. I mean, unless there's a miracle, I don't see it resolving itself.
Yeah.
Here's one that it could be a positive. We were all afraid of murder hornets, and I don't think it was a thing.
Either it wasn't ever really a thing, or it just never really got out of
Yeah,
hand.
it went
We
away.
curb the murder hornets in time.
Maybe they got COVID.
Oh, Jesus.
Or maybe they landed in the U.S., they saw the debacle that is the election, and they turned around and went back to wherever it was they came from.
Put the bags back in the car, honey. We're going back.
That's
Screw
right.
this.
I mean, I remember all the memes that, you know, first we had COVID, then we had something else, and now we have murder hornets. And it was never a thing. I think they found like 4 in the U.S. It was never a thing.
Yeah. I think every couple of years, murder hornets come up. It's murder hornets, or it's bees, or it's something like that. I mean, it's definitely a scary thing to have an invasive species like that, but obviously they haven't taken, either someone's dealt with it or Lady Luck's been on our side.
Yeah. So yeah,
Maybe it is the thing, and the headlines are just too busy with other stuff, and we just don't know about it. Dun dun dun.
cue the invasion of the murder hornets. It could be a great movie, though. You know, the end of the world ends in a pandemic. Hey, this is a new novel for Stephen King.
Yeah, they're like one family, people survive, and as they're walking off into the sunset, a bunch of murder hornets just show up and murk them.
Santa conquers the murder hornets.
I'm picturing an ending, like the ending of Sound of Music, where they're walking
Yes,
along
yes.
the mountain.
Yes.
Climb every mountain. Murder hornets just come in, cut the music, screams, cut the black, credits roll.
That's right. That's
That's how this is going to end.
hopefully not in 2021. I want a good year. I just want a year to relax.
My favorite meme so far about this year
Yeah.
has been the 2021 memes, where everyone's sitting there ready to cheer for 2021, and the clock just hits 11:60. at 11:61. It just keeps going. I'm genuinely
No.
terrified of that. I have
No.
nightmares about that.
No. Speaking of that, of the clock rolling over at 11:59. So you were around in 2000. You were young, but you were around at 2000, and the end of the world was going to happen.
I remember you guys prepping for that.
I never prepped. I never owned a thing. Now, I worried about it,
That's what I mean. Like,
but I never prepped. I never did anything as I assumed it was going to happen, and there wasn't a whole lot that we could do about it.
Mhm.
But I remember at the end of 1999, when it was getting ready again, we all were in our living room with some friends, and we're watching, and you're watching it with dread, not knowing
yeah.
what was going to happen when 2000 rolled in. Our computer's going to die. Is the world going to end? Is there going to be a terrorist attack? Like, what's going to happen in 1999 when it comes around into 2000? And I'm sure there's a lot of folks just hoping for this year to be over and for it to go away and just end. But
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a running gag at this point that we keep every year rolls around. We're like, oh my God, this year. Can't wait for a better year next year. And the year is like, hold my beer. And I don't want to go into 2021 with that kind of energy.
yeah, that's true.
I want to be a little more less expectant of 2021 to be a good year and more determined to make 2021 a good year.
Well, and
There's your pep talk for the day.
well, I think it actually is a part of it. I think as all the COVID and everything really, it's made us more reliant on our ingenuities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this show is a great example. Like, what are we going to do different? We're going to hop online. We're going to do a show online. And it's a thing that a lot of folks are learning new skills.
Yeah.
It's been a good thing in that sense.
In some strange way, it's helped. I'm speaking for personal experience and some other people and some anecdotal experience is that it's brought some people together, which is weird to think about with how isolated we've had to be.
Right.
But like I've spent more time talking with you and mom and family on the phone or over Snapchat or whatever this last 6 months than I have in a long time.
No, William, you have not spoken to me once over Snapchat.
Not you, Megan.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
I mean, it probably has to do with the baby too. But between the various platforms, I mean,
Okay.
our friends here that live in Ottawa, which is only 3 hours away, we
Right.
spend way more time talking to them, texting them, or FaceTiming them than we used to,
Right.
because we know that's the only way we're going to have contact with them.
Right.
And so
It's true.
there's
It's a thing.
it's to a certain degree brought people together, even though it's keeping us apart. To steal Nexicom's slogan, I'm coming for you, Nexicom.
There you go. Race riots were a thing in 2020.
There's a silver lining. COVID fixed that. Ish.
Sort of.
There's less riots.
They gave us
now.
another reason to hate riots, but
I mean, yeah, we never liked the riots to begin with.
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to riot when you're worried about catching a deadly disease. How
Yeah.
about that?
So I will say that I learned a lot in the race riots and discussion, etc. Not really in the riots as much in the discussion. It was eye-opening for me, and in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah.
I was Ubering for most of the year, and I met a lot of people of color, or of other ethnicities.
There you go. You got
Ethnicities,
it.
is that the
It's a
word?
big
Yeah.
word. Well done. Yeah, well done.
It is a big word.
2 points for Dave.
And I learned a lot that I probably wouldn't have learned if the whole idea of race had not been raised as forcefully as it was.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was a good thing. I'm not saying that I should have needed to have the world in flames before I noticed issues with race. It
Yeah.
goes to a bit of the heart of the problem with race, but
Mhm.
I learned a lot from it. And again, I'm glad for it. So
Yeah, I'm right with you in that I wish we could have seen a lot of these things without having to have a big ugly spotlight put on it.
yeah.
But unfortunately, historically speaking, especially with America, I think we have a hard time. I say that as if I'm American, but we have a hard time in the West of adjusting our society without big spotlights being put on things. Something big has to happen to kind of shake us out of our rut. I think that's kind of a running theme.
It is.
I wish it wasn't the case, but here we are.
Here we are. We got a vaccine for COVID, a few of them actually, in record time.
Record time, yeah.
Now I'm going to play the devil's advocate that if you make a vaccine in 6 months, I'm a little bit worried that it may not have the effectiveness of some of the ones which have had all the trials over years, but
That's a
it's
fair.
here.
That's how I've felt. I had it put. I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone on social media, but they're involved in the in virology in to some extent.
Right.
So they have knowledge in that field.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say. And the way they put it is for people who are really worried about what's in these vaccines, like
Mhm.
it's been a global coming together of scientists to try and figure this out. It's not one company or one group of scientists. It's massive interconnected groups of them that have put in their time and effort
Right.
and their incredible brain power into developing it.
Right.
But then people who are worried about the things that are in it, it's I find it amusing that we're so concerned over what's in this vaccine when most people don't understand what's in their fast food. We put so many things in our bodies that we don't fully understand.
For everyone who goes to McDonald's and eats a Big Mac 3 times a
Yeah.
week and you're worried about the vaccine, you need to give your
That-
head a shake. You need to
That
give your
right
head a
there.
shake.
That's what I was getting towards, is that. For
And
everyone
I'm
who's
all
so concerned about it.
Yeah, and I am all for questioning. I'm all
Absolutely.
for looking at things analytically,
Mhm.
but I also am for logic. And when you eat at Taco Bell for 9 meals a week, and then you worry about a vaccine that has smart people making it,
Yes.
as opposed to a teenager who in the state of Washington can legally be high while he's making your hamburger. I really have a
Yeah.
I question your logical thinking process.
Yeah. At that point, I think it starts to boil down to less of a concern over the vaccine and more of a concern over the people who support vaccines, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it's become such an ideological
Yes.
centerpiece that I think people are latching on to questioning the vaccine as a prerequisite to their ideology, as opposed to
Right.
actually being that concerned over what's in it. Not to say that people aren't concerned over what's in it, and you should be concerned over what's in it. I'm not saying ignore it.
Right.
I'm just saying that doubting it just because it was fast is silly.
Right.
There's so many resources out there for what's in them, trustworthy resources, peer-reviewed resources, that if you feel the need to do the research, you can do it. If you feel the need to ask the questions, you can.
Mhm.
People who just arbitrarily say, I don't trust it.
Yeah.
You should.
I'm not a vaccination guy. I don't,
Mhm.
they're the proven ones that I do like. I think, for polio, et cetera. I think that they're good
Yeah.
ones. I do have my doubts, except I'm not an anti-vaxxer. If you believe in that sort of thing, I'm not with you. So don't count me on your side if you're an anti-vaxxer.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I do have questions, and when I look at these, which are hurried in, I do have questions about them, and
Questions
it's
are good.
logical. It just is logical. If you look at the polio vaccine, it took years to develop and to test and to change and to adapt. And when you look at some of the others, it was a lot of years. And so, I get the questions.
Yes.
I don't want people to read into it that I think that vaccinations are bad, because I don't. And I think logical people don't.
Yeah, I agree. Logical people. That's why I say that questioning it and skepticism are
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Skepticism is very healthy. It's just if it's skepticism for the sake of being skeptic, as opposed to skepticism for the sake of trying to further your knowledge of something,
Right.
that's where it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
like I say, people who just, I don't know what's in it, I don't trust it, that's the end of the story. That shouldn't be the end of the story.
Right.
The I don't know, I don't trust should be an impetus for you to start to know more. Go look into it. Go learn more about it
Right.
so that you can trust it.
So I have a confession, and the
Oh,
only
no.
reason I have to say it now is because I just did it.
Do I have to come out as Deacon Will here for this?
You don't. It actually is your mother who pointed this out to me the other day, that I make statements that are inflammatory in nature.
Yes.
So when I make
I
a statement that says, that if you were logical, you would do such a thing, and thereby it's implying that you are illogical.
Right.
You, the viewer, are illogical. I want to say now my humble apology, because apparently what I said before was politically incorrect. I don't think you're illogical. I just think you're a dumbass. Oh, no, that didn't make it any better.
It backfired.
Damn it.
I think the way to look at it is that you can be a logical person, viewer or us,
Yes.
but you can say or do illogical things.
Okay.
So I think when you say a thing is illogical, you're not speaking to the entirety of a person's character being illogical. You're
Okay.
speaking to that specific instance. So if you say someone does this thing and this thing is just illogical,
Yes.
that doesn't mean that people who buy into that are, as a whole, illogical. It just means that their opinion on that thing is to you illogical. And it's okay to have an opinion. As
Their
long as you're
opinion
not
on that
backing up their entirety.
thing does not make them a dumbass?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Just want to clarify
I mean,
that.
unless they think that, what's a good example? Unless they think the Popeye's chicken sandwich is better than Mary Brown's, in which case they are a dumbass.
So, speaking of chicken, I mentioned it last week.
Oh,
There
boy.
are people who are still in line 45 minutes for a chicken sandwich. 45 minutes.
on.
One of the pastors of our church he's held out, because initially it was like an hour and a half or 2 or 3 hours. He held out. He said, it wasn't that bad. I was in line for 40 minutes. I got my emails done.
that bad.
Well, he-
45 minutes outside in line.
Well, it's in your car, right? It's in the drive-thru. That's all you can do is a drive-thru, right? So you're in your car. So he's answering emails. So at
In his
least,
car.
yeah. So at least he did it productively.
Answering emails in his car.
Yes, while he's waiting in line. I'm assuming that does not count towards
Is
texting
the
and
car
driving.
running?
Yes.
Is the car running? Okay,
Yes.
then that's a problem.
No, it's not.
I say as someone who would probably be doing the same thing.
So anyway,
am I going to
speaking
imagine myself on a high horse? Yes, I am.
speaking of dumbasses, I'm pretty sure, and Josh, I'm calling you out because you'll never watch this show. If you're in line for 40 minutes for a chicken sandwich, you might be.
I need empirical evidence that is like just objectively the best freaking sandwich of all time, and I
So-
don't think it is.
I'm going to interject here. Keep going off on rabbit trails. So I learned a new thing this week, and
Mhm.
hence the freaking sandwiches. We learned that if you use the F word on YouTube, it reduces you in the algorithmic whatever they do. So I said to Will earlier for the show, I said, do you think we could not use the F word? Hence the freaking chicken sandwiches.
I'm gonna need to get a thing here so I can make bleeps, like a little soundboard or something, so I can bleep myself out.
I can just do this over you.
Yeah, but how do you know it's coming?
Okay,
Yes.
a couple good things. The war on Christmas. What's that?
Exactly. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
always been a thorn in my side that the war on Christmas was apparently a thing, and it's never really been a thing. And this is the first Christmas that I can remember that there hasn't been a bunch of hubbub about there being a war on Christmas, because there really isn't. It's just Christmas. Enjoy it.
Nobody
and shut up.
cares. You wanna-
Exactly. And I feel like this year
Yeah.
there's been so much terrible stuff that got pushed to the side,
Yeah.
and hopefully it gets forgotten there.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't deserve our time. It really doesn't. It's a non-issue. And the
Or-
fact that it ever made headlines.
Or as a Die Hard. You know, if you
I
can
mean-
watch a Die Hard movie at Christmas, it's Merry freaking Christmas.
Yeah.
It just is.
I haven't done that yet. I didn't watch Die Hard yet.
We lost some folks this year. This is ending on a down note, ending the year on a down note, except I sort of want to honor them more than mourn them. The one I'll pick on is Kenny Rogers, as I've been a fan of Kenny for years. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have too.
There's Islands in the Stream with he and Dolly Parton, which I was never a fan of until I heard it the week he died. And I'm like, holy cow, that's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
But I really was never a fan of the song until he passed away. Does that mean I'm a horrible person?
I think that applies to a lot of people who pass away.
I mean, I remember years ago, I go to karaoke with your Uncle Mallory, with my brother. And half the songs I would do were Kenny Rogers. It was in my vocal range. I mean, it's easy, it's crooning, it's easy to sing.
Right.
He was an amazing voice. And yeah. So I was a fan of Kenny Rogers.
I'm also a fan of Kenny Rogers. Some of his songs being easy to sing along to kind of helped me learn to enjoy singing. So while I'm not necessarily well versed in his whole body of work, I have a connection to certain portions of it.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Exactly.
It's a great life lesson.
A weird little segue. While you said that it's a sad thing, people who died, I was like, there's got to be someone who died this year that we could be happy that they're finally gone. Tried to Google that. I literally Googled evil people who died in 2020. The entire Google page is just celebrities who died. So either that speaks to how much we don't like celebrities or how much we do. I can't decide which.
Are any of them there that we don't like?
No. It's all like the Chadwick Bosemans and the Kenny Rogers. And it's like, I don't want the people that we love.
No.
I want the people that we hated. I want to hear about some
axe murderer
that kicked the bucket. And so I can point my finger and laugh at him and feel better because he's finally gone.
You are such
apparently
a bad person, William.
Well,
You're looking for positives.
I'm bad for
I know.
the right people. Okay, I'm bad for the right people. I'm a bad person doing a good thing or something like that.
Isn't that a line in Army of Darkness?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm
the goody Mr. Two Shoes. You're the goody Mr. Two Shoes. Good, bad. I'm the man with the gun.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the podcast. So I get to make those decisions.
That's right.
I arbitrarily decide who's good and bad. I'm still bad.
So Chadwick Boseman, he's a great.
That one's sad.
It is. I mean, so I never knew the guy. I knew a few of his movies. Again, maybe he was a jerk. I don't know. He was good in his movies, and
by all accounts,
he was young.
Very young.
Yeah.
By all accounts, he was a really stand-up person. This is just me going off of what I read online.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of, to throw back a little bit to all the racial inequality talk this year. It's a bit of a blow to African Americans because he was kind of a very big symbol for them with how successful Black Panther was.
Right. Both
being an African American superhero, but also being so widely loved by everyone because of that. So it's a real blow to that not the franchise in the sense of it making money, but the franchise in the sense of what it stood for.
Right.
And what it meant to, kids who looked up to him because of that role.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a real kick in the teeth. Also, I just really love that movie, so I'm sad.
Yeah, I liked him in the movie. Again, that was really all I knew him from was the movies. I hadn't followed his social media or anything.
I don't know if he had much social media.
For me, when I look at a young person like that who passes away, for me, as I'm an old fart, it makes me think, oh, geez, it puts a mortality light on some of us who sit here and we're like, he was in his 30s. I'm in my 50s. It points a light on you and go, oh, shoot, I better get my act together.
I sit there eating my 6th Baconator of the week and
it was you I was talking about the fast food.
Okay, maybe not 6 Baconators. I do like them too much, though.
I have one word for you. It's hyphenated.
Stop.
You dumbass.
2 words, Dave.
I said it's hyphenated. A dumbass. Another one in that vein is Kobe Bryant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd actually forgotten about that.
He and his daughter.
Dave.
Yeah. I mean, you look at these lives. I mean, it just makes us sad for 2020.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Look forward. You know what? The best thing about 2020 is
it's done in a week.
it's done in a week and it'll be in the rearview mirror. I think 2020 will look great in the back, in behind.
I think I'm going to get one of those mirrors that are on the right-hand side of the car. Objects in this mirror might be farther than they appear,
I hope so.
or maybe closer than they appear because they look
Yeah,
like they're
yeah.
further away. Yeah.
Oh,
The object in this mirror are farther away than they appear.
oof.
So looking ahead for 2021, William, what are you going to do? I don't care about the show right now. What are your plans for 2021?
Oof, my plans for 2021.
Yeah, what?
On a personal,
Yeah, on a personal note.
I don't do resolutions, but I
Yeah.
have kind of a list of goals, I guess.
Yeah.
I really like candles, and so my lovely wife got me a candle making kit for Christmas. So between that and trying to make my own tea, those are both things that we enjoy a lot of, tea and candles, and so I want to try making my own, just for the
Gotcha.
sake of doing something with my own hands. And I'm taking steps to get closer to my dream of being a blacksmith. So there's a lot of background work that has to go into doing that before I can ever hope to do that as a living.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this year I'm trying to finally put boots on the ground with that idea.
Sweet.
Yeah, and learn how to light my studio. That'd be nice too.
That's coming. It's coming. I
What about-
am going to learn Final Cut Pro. It is actually my goal for this year is I want to learn how to edit video. As I goof around a lot, I play with video, I do all this, and I goof around a lot. And that is really, it's the best way to put it, is I goof around. And I want to learn how to do it right. And so I am going to learn Final Cut Pro because I'm a Mac guy and that's a Mac app.
So what you're saying is, I won't have to edit my own video essays. I can just send them to you.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Perfect. So on that note, expect more video essays this year on the website.
That was the
From
smoothest
me.
segue we have done since week one, William. And it wasn't even planned. That was not even planned. Murray, you would have been proud of us. There was no planned segue.
You're welcome.
So for those of you who have been watching the show recently, you know that I've been doing my Vlogmas. And I dropped off as I've been working with your mom on some of her video work. And so I dropped out, although I was doing a video almost every day. And the reason for me to do it is, again, I want to get more regular with these little snippets of video for content.
Yeah, we
And-
want more content.
Right. And so for me, for one of the things I would like to get to do in the next year is have a little more on Facebook. Is do a little extra content over there, so it sort of points them into YouTube for us. But
Yeah. But then
so look for more content.
Yeah, and my goal in terms of content for the podcast and for our site is also producing more content, and where I'm not good at things like Vlogmas or a lot of interaction. I've lots of ideas for video essays or blog posts, things where I can flex my writing, my creative writing skills that my mother so handily gave me.
She did.
So yeah, expect some of that coming up in 2021. Also Patreon. Patreon is fast approaching us in 2021. We've sunk a lot of effort into trying to decide how we want to do it,
Right.
so that we don't feel scummy for it, and we feel like everyone who would potentially support us there is getting their money's worth out of it. So expect that finally in 2021.
Yeah. William, I'm going to leave it up to you for just a minute. So I'm going to give
Okay.
you the other one up.
Ooh. Wide shot. So yeah, I feel like that encompasses what we want to do with the podcast in 2021. Is we just want to branch out, because we're still, even with the podcast, we're still kind of learning what we want to do with it, exactly the subjects we want to talk about. Obviously, they are sociopolitical and whatnot in nature, but how we want to go about doing it, and the easiest way for us to find out what we're best at and what connects with an audience the most is just by spreading it out. extending feelers in multiple directions and seeing what connects with people, what
Right.
resonates well.
Right.
So 2021, I think, is really going to be a season of doing that for us, a season of exploration for us into what kind of content really clicks for us and resonates with our audience that we don't really have that much of yet, but we're working on it.
One thing we're working on is a new set. We're going to be working with green screens a little bit and seeing if we can get a little more of a look like a show. And I have all the software to do it. Now I have the hardware to do it. So we're going to look at doing a little more of a polished show in 2021. It's going to be
So
good.
we look like we know what we're doing.
Oh, there we go. We have a number of guests lined up for the next year.
Yeah.
Now, a few of these are going to be surprise for William because I haven't cleared them with William.
I'll
But-
get surprises.
One of them is actually, I have to get this right. She's in Florida and she's a counselor at a church and she deals with a whole lot of mental health issues in the church. And there's been a huge rise, like obviously in the pandemic, of emotional and mental health crisis. And so I've invited her on the show in the new year to talk about how that has affected in the church, because that's her world. But
This is news to me, and I'm genuinely excited about it because that's something I'm really interested to learn about.
there's a huge issue in families, in youth, and kids especially right now, as kids are craving connection and they're not getting it. And we're seeing huge upcreases,
Upticks, increases.
upticks or increases or upcreases. You just take your pick. In suicides, as it's because of the lack of connection is what they're finding. And so I'll be interested in meeting with her. Another one that we have on the docket is going to be a rock and roll band. I haven't told you about this one either. I know a rock and roll band, and we're going to be having them on the show, who have been in the industry for a lot of years. And so they are booked in the first quarter of 2021.
I'm learning so much today.
The other one that you do know about is I have a friend of mine. Oh, guys, hold on. Oh, she won't come on the camera, but my wife just made me a coffee.
Oh,
She loves me, but she wouldn't even come on camera to give it to me.
right before the show, mine gave me a eggnog and rum. So
There you go. The other one that you do know about is we have a friend of the family who the mom and dad are hardcore Republican. There's a daughter who used to be a hardcore Republican until Mr. Orange Hair was elected, and then she went over to the other side of the aisle. But there also is a member of the family who is extremely involved in the Democratic organization, like heavily involved, like all over the world in working that industry, and we're really, really awesome family.
So it'll be nice because that's kind of in where you and me have kind of like a layman's relationship with our differing political opinions. Now we're going to be talking to someone who not only has differing opinions, but like sinks their time and money and effort and their jobs literally into being on a political side and how they can still function as a family unit.
Right.
And I'm really excited to hear about that because that's a level of high functioning family values or family interconnectivity that I am woefully inexperienced with.
Yeah. It's actually I was introduced to one of the sisters. I was railing against Obamacare. I was not a fan of Obamacare. I just hated the name more than anything, although I didn't like the HCA.
We can agree on that.
And we were talking about it. It was in a small group at church, if I remember right. And she looked at me and she said, "But have you read it?" And I sort of said, "Nope." And she said, "Then how do you know what's in it?" And it stopped me dead in my tracks.
Right.
As if I'm going to have a real opinion about something, I should have read it.
should
or at
probably read
least had a really good idea what was in it.
it.
You
Yeah.
know, and I had heard all the news reports about what was in it, although I had never read
Mm.
it. She had, you know, and
Right.
there were problems with it, and she acknowledged that. Except her arguments
felt
were
like-
from a position of authority, of knowledge,
Mhm.
and mine were from a position of opinion.
Mhm.
And it was an eye opener for me. So I'm really looking forward to having them on the show.
Yeah.
We would like to do another episode with our family because I like our family. You got your Uncle Mallory
Who's those guys?
and your sister Allison, and I would love to have a family episode about music in our family.
Oh boy.
As a lot
Yeah.
of us are musical, you later in life, although you are musical.
I wouldn't call myself musical, but I have latent talent that I didn't know I had. I don't have the skills to back it up, but I later in life discovered that I can in fact hold a tune that I did not think I could.
So
Let myself do it.
So all of my kids are in therapy because I made them sing when they were young. And you were one of the ones that was
I was the worst.
you were the worst. You would
I was
not
the
sing.
worst. You know what
And-
the funniest part is? I vividly remember the one time, the probably the worst time, because I got grounded from everything systematically. Every time I refused to sing, I would get grounded. I would lose more privileges, lose the PlayStation, lose the computer, lose books, lose my Lego, whatever. And I remember it was because I didn't want to sing higher notes. You wanted the family to sing "Oh Canada," and I refused to sing high notes because I thought I was a tough guy, and tough guys only sing low notes. And I would not do it. Now that I'm in my 20s and I do theater as a hobby, or did theater pre-COVID as a hobby, I learn I'm a tenor. Go figure.
Hey,
Go
Will.
figure.
Hey, Will.
Tell detail.
You have less than a year that you're still in your 20s.
I want to be good to the algorithm. Fuck you, man. Go fornicate yourself.
You were born in 1991.
Shut up.
July gives you 7 months, my friend, and you are going to be hitting the
Man.
30s, man.
I
You're
was,
old
I was
fart.
playing video games with family friends today, and I
Yeah.
did the Budweiser "What that." Two of the guys we were playing with didn't know what that was. It hurt, man. It really hurt.
It's so good to have somebody else in the old fart realm along with me.
Staring down the barrel of being middle-aged. I'm not
That's
ready
right.
for it.
Yeah, so that's what's happening in 2021 for the Will and Dave show.
Yeah.
We began this in October, if I remember right, Halloween.
Mhm. We've come a long ways.
And we gave it, there was going to be a sort of a window to give it a whirl
Hmm.
for 6 months.
Yeah.
So we're into it for 4 months yet. And it
Yeah.
depends on you guys. We would love more comments. How do you guys, if you want to comment, it shows up even afterwards on the replays.
Mhm.
Write your comments in, email us. That reminds us.
Right.
William,
Yes.
the website.
Yeah. So, for those of you who haven't listened to our spiel before, we have a website. And if you want to leave comments or have suggestions for topics we can talk about on the show,
It's right at the
best
top of
way,
the
most
page.
reliable way. Yeah, the most reliable way to get those to us. You know, if you comment on a video, we might get it. If you comment on a Facebook post, then we might get it. Hopefully we catch that. But if you want to guarantee that we're going to see it, that it's going to make it in front of our hallowed eyes, the website is the way to go. So on the screen here, you should see our website. Up on the top right, there is the button there to submit a suggestion for the show.
It says
You can
ask
simply,
us.
yeah, ask us. You can simply click that. It should pull up a new tab or new window where you can, again, you see this little prompt. You
It's
click
only
the,
5
what does it say
questions.
again?
It's only 5
that?
questions.
Yeah, it's 5 questions. It's super duper easy. And half those questions are just contact information so that we can get a hold of you to critique your spelling. I feel like that's going to be a running gag now until one of us starts screwing it all up.
So Dave Smith.
Yeah. So you fill in your name, obviously.
And we hit
If
next.
you want to give us a pseudonym, feel free to.
And I'm going to give my email address for David at CimarronCamps.com. And then next.
You just doxed yourself. Yes, if you want to submit a video, if you think it's more fun or easier for you to convey your question by a video on your phone or something, you can do that here. This is the way to do it.
We would love a video because then we would play it on this show. We really would. And we would, it's this easy. You hit yes, hit the browse, and I want to take a photo. And I sit here.
And you too can take a photo of all three of your chins at once.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I want to leave a question for the Will and Dave Show. How many hats are used in the movie The Cat in the Hat? And then you hit stop, use video, and submit.
It automatically uploads it for you.
And it's there.
Done. And if you don't want to upload a video, if you're camera shy or just don't want to give us the time of day, you are welcome to not upload a video and just enter it as text there.
Yes.
And then we'll email it off to us and notify us that it was specifically sent through the website just for our eyes.
So I'm going to walk you through how to do that because we are that good. Hit start.
Oh,
Hit
thorough.
your name. Dave Smith. Next. I'm going to use my email address again. Next. No, I do not have a video.
He's
And then
camera shy.
It's going to ask me to ask my question. Why is Will so gosh darn old? See, you thought I was going a whole nother direction, didn't you?
Entropy. The answer is
And you
entropy.
submit that, and it shows up on our end, and then we get to play them in the show.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. Honestly, we've tried to keep the method for asking questions like that as straightforward as we possibly can, and as user friendly as we possibly can. So until the day that we reach a point where there's too many questions for us to answer on the show, we see all of them. Like every single one that gets sent in, we personally read. We cannot afford someone to do it for us.
We do answer every one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to open this video.
So, get in while you can. One day, this is going to be an exclusive club. We're going to be the real hot guys on the block, and it's going to be a fight to get your videos onto the show. But for now,
That's
limited
right.
time offer. You're on if you send a video.
You will be on the show.
You're a shoe in.
Yeah, that's a shoe in. I like that phrase. I haven't heard that in a long time.
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute. That's another one of those new things I don't get.
I'm stuck in this weird middle ground where I want to use the new phrases like lit and hot minute or poggers to try and get in with the younger generation, but I also say things like, wow, that's heavy.
So what's with lit? So I don't understand lit because I'm an old fart, and in my head it means high.
No.
That's what it used to mean.
From
If you're
what
lit, you're high.
Yes. And I think it's kind of I think it comes from two directions. I've read about it from two different viewpoints.
Okay.
One is that it's the association with being high as being good or a good thing to be. So
Right.
lit is just kind of became colloquialized as good.
Right.
It is good. The other one is it's kind of an abbreviation of sorts of saying something's hot or saying something's on fire or something is good or exceptional is that it's lit.
Okay.
Depending on where you're coming from, I've read it both ways because I'm neurotic and I looked up the lingo before I started using it.
You're neurotic. That's you, Will.
If you got any more questions about modern day lingo, just let me know.
So I learned one today that I was reading an article, and the word is objet. And
Objet.
Objet is instead of object.
I haven't heard that one, but
The objet of her affection. Like, what the heck was wrong with object?
I don't know. Well,
Like,
I
is
feel
the-
the same way about poggers. I think poggers is stupid.
Well, what is poggers?
It's something that's come out of the video game community where pog is an abbreviation for play of the game. So,
Okay.
if somebody does something really great, you say, oh, that's the pog. And now it's gotten to the point where they just say as something is good or something is cool, they say it's poggers. and it
Okay.
seems I right over my head. There's
So it's
limits,
sort of
okay,
like
to how much I
the
can grab.
GOAT. If you're a
Yeah,
GOAT,
it is.
you're
Yeah.
the greatest of all time. Why
That's
can't we
exactly.
say you're the greatest of all time? Well, why do we have to be called a GOAT? Okay.
The only good thing to come of GOAT is there's a guy here in Peterborough that makes fun of that in his radio ads for his like real estate business constantly.
I like that.
Yeah, his ad is read out by goats all the time because he's the goat of real estate or something like that, and it's good fun.
I love
During the
it.
pandemic, he changed it up and he's like, "Hey, it's so and so from so and so real estate. I didn't bring any goats in this time because times are pretty tough, and you can rely on me during these tough times." And I'm like, you know what? Well played. You set yourself up. You knocked him down.
Hey, Will.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a favor on the air, and then then you're going to do it, because if not, I'm going to harass you next week and the week after on the air.
Oh no.
Reach out to that real estate agent, ask if we can use his ads on the show.
You know what?
He's
I
in-
will try.
He's in your hometown. I know he has the phone number and email address. Reach out to
He
him.
does.
We would love to use his show. Again, not in a bad way. You can tell him not in a bad way.
No,
We
yeah.
think it's cool. So-
We want to admire his creativity.
That's right. So we're going to sign off for 2020, Will.
Yeah.
Last show of the
See
year.
you guys in a year.
We want to remind you that even though it's the last show of the year, we would still appreciate hit the subscribe
Oh yeah,
button.
liking and subscribing. Right,
Like,
with the
subscribe,
shill.
hit the bell button. It helps with the algorithm at the Google gods.
You can be as unenthusiastic about hitting it as I am about asking you to hit it.
You don't have to slam it. You don't have to smash it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You just have to click
You can
it.
just gently caress it with your mouse. That's all.
That sounds weird. We're going to go a whole nother level in the new year. We're not even going to say it anymore. We're just going to have this little icon, this animation that comes up and shows you clicking it, just as a sort of a subtle reminder, so we don't have to ask it anymore, because it's really freaking embarrassing. Would you
Yeah.
please like us? It makes us sound so freaking pathetic.
Please, sir, can I have some more? Just us with our little wooden bowls asking for your clicks.
That's
Please.
right. That's right. on a positive note, we got another follower today on YouTube. We're up to 45.
Hey, we're almost halfway to being people in YouTube's eyes.
Yes. So our goal is 100. So if you're watching, we would love you to hit that subscribe, because we really want to get our own URL, which the only way you can get your own name is because we got to get to 100, and it makes us feel really good about ourselves.
How dare there be a barrier
Hey.
for entry?
Hey. We got a comment.
Hey, yeah, see you next year.
Hey, Hardies. We are so happy to have you guys watching the show. Thank you, and we will see you next year.
Admiring the lovely microphone.
Anyways, Merry Christmas, guys. Have a great and happy and safe New Year. And
Yeah,
we will
stay safe.
speak to
Bye-bye.
you. I believe it's on New Year's Day, isn't it, William? Isn't that the
think
next
so,
show? Yeah. So we will speak to you all, or we will actually see you, or you'll see us
You'll
on
see
New
us.
Year's Day. And maybe if you give us a comment, we'll see you on New
Or a
Year's
video
Day.
question.
Video question.
Yeah,
We'll see you.
yeah.
Yeah. How do you like them hot dogs?
What?
It was the best thing I could come up with.
Yeah. When in doubt, cut the feed.
Happy New Year.
Good night, folks.